Hi guys, today I'm going to share with you how to make a super easy dessert, and that is bread pudding with the yummiest caramel sauce. The first thing you're going to need is bread, and I'm using brioche bread. I like to use a bread that's a little bit more substantial, a little bit that it holds up well when baked with the custard. I've buttered my baking dish, and I'm going to take the bread and cut it into cubes. Regardless of what type of bread you choose to use, the best bread to use is stale bread. So if you have any stale bread hanging around, bread pudding is the perfect use for stale bread. It just works way better than using fresh bread. And once I finish dicing all of the bread, I'm just going to place it into the container and then get started on the custard. Bread pudding is one of those recipes that's super easy, and even a novice cook can make this recipe, and it is tasty. The next thing I'm going to do is to get started on the custard. So to a measuring cup, I am adding milk and cream, and I'm using a measuring cup because it's just going to be easier to pour this over the bread. And you can use half and half as well. To that, I am adding sweetened condensed milk. Now, if you don't have sweetened condensed milk, you can sweeten it with sugar. Since I'm making a caramel sauce that's going to go on top of the bread pudding, I wanted to make sure that the bread pudding itself is not super sweet. It's all about balance when it comes to desserts. Next, I'm going to add vanilla extract, and I'm going to add lots of cinnamon and freshly grated nutmeg. And if you like, you can also add a splash of rum or bourbon just to kick it up a notch, but we're not going to do that today. To the milk mixture, I've added 3 eggs, and I am going to whisk it, making sure to break up all the yolks so everything is nicely incorporated. Once I've given this all a good mix, I am going to pour this over the cubes of bread. And I'm just going to make sure to pour it over all of the pieces of bread just to make sure it gets nice and soaked. Once I've poured over all of that custard, I'm going to take a wooden spoon and just gently press the bread down into the mixture, because you want to make sure that the bread soaks up all of that custard. And I'm going to let this sit for about 20 to 30 minutes before placing it into the oven. And I'm going to let this bake for about 50 to 55 minutes. While that bakes, I'm going to get started on the caramel sauce. To a pot, I have added brown sugar, and I've also added 2 tablespoons of water. I'm going to let that cook for about 5-7 minutes, let the sugar dissolve, and then I've added heavy cream. And I'm going to stir this all together just to make sure that the heavy cream and that brown sugar mixture just combines well. Next, I'm going to add just a little bit of butter and just stir it together until the butter melts. I'm also going to add a pinch of salt. This complements the sweetness. And then I'm going to let this cook for about another 5 to 7 minutes and keep checking, because I want this to reduce and to thicken. Once it's gotten to the thickness I'm looking for, I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla extract, and just know that once this cools, it will continue to thicken, so you do not want to cook it until it's super thick. This is the perfect consistency. And I'm just going to pour this into a mason jar and set it aside to cool. And now the bread pudding is ready, and it is golden brown, and as you can see, it's puffed up. That's exactly what you're looking for. This is how you know it's done, when it's puffed all the way up. And as it cools, the center is going to drop. But look at that. It's just the perfect texture. It has a bit of jiggle to it. It is going to be so good. And now all that's left to do is to serve it up. Get a nice spoonful, place it onto a plate, and then top it with some of that yummy caramel sauce that we made earlier. And this is absolutely divine. You are going to love this recipe. Thank you guys for joining me. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. The link to the recipe will be in the description box below, and I will see you guys next time.